Apple isn't innovating here. It's arriving late, overpricing the entry, and hoping branding can do the heavy lifting. The so-called foldable iPhone has shifted from an exciting what if to a far more cynical question. How exactly does Apple plan to justify calling this thing Ultra, when most of what's leaking feels like compromise dressed up as ambition? Let's start with the name. Instead of calling it what it is, a foldable, Apple is reportedly going with iPhone Ultra. That's not bold, it's evasive. It avoids direct comparison with competitors who have been refining foldables for years. It's a branding trick, plain and simple, designed to reframe expectations rather than meet them. When a company has to rename a category to sell it, that usually says more than the product itself. Then there's the timeline confusion. For months, leaks pointed toward delays, possibly even a push into 2027. Now suddenly, it's back on track for September 2026, just like that. This constant back and forth doesn't signal confidence. It signals uncertainty behind the scenes. And even if Apple hits that September window, reports suggest the device won't actually be available until weeks later. That's not strategy, that's scrambling to keep up appearances while production realities catch up. Now let's talk about the part Apple can't spin easily: price. A starting point of $2,000 for 256 GB is not just aggressive, it's borderline absurd. And if the rumored 2 terabytes variant creeps toward $2,800, Apple won't just be testing the limits of premium pricing, it'll be detonating them. At that level, this isn't a smartphone anymore, it's a luxury experiment with questionable real-world value. And for what? A first-generation device in a category Apple deliberately avoided for years. Apple's supposed breakthrough, eliminating the display crease, sounds impressive on paper, but it raises more questions than it answers. If competitors have been shipping foldables for years with visible creases, and Apple suddenly claims to have solved it, skepticism is warranted. New adhesive bonding techniques might reduce visibility, but eliminate the crease in a mass-produced foldable. That sounds more like marketing optimism than engineering reality. And even if it's true, it doesn't erase the durability concerns that have plagued foldables from day one. Design-wise, the leaks are underwhelming. For a device that's supposed to represent Apple's grand entrance into foldables, it feels surprisingly safe, almost hesitant. The display choices are equally questionable. A 5.3-inch outer screen is not just small, it's inconvenient. It practically forces users to unfold the device for anything meaningful, which defeats the purpose of having a secondary screen in the first place. Inside, the 7.8-inch display leans toward a tablet-like experience. But again, this isn't new. It's Apple following a path already paved by others, not redefining it. Battery capacity might sound impressive, 5,400 to 5,800 milliampere, but that's likely compensating for the power demands of 2 displays. And while the rumored A20 Pro chip and new communication hardware sound cutting edge, they're expected upgrades, not game changers. This is Apple doing what it always does: incremental improvements wrapped in big promises. What's harder to ignore are the downgrades. No Face ID on a device this expensive. Replacing it with a side-mounted Touch ID feels like a step backward, not a design choice. And the camera system, just 2 48-megapixel sensors with no telephoto lens, is shockingly limited for something positioned as Ultra. This isn't premium, it's stripped down. That's all for now. See you in the next one.